Okay guys, today we're going to be talking about the 10 top self-defense misconceptions. Me and Patrick sat down together and we looked at what are some of the myths and misconceptions that people are teaching that is completely false. And what happens is one instructor says, 10, 15, 20 years ago says this is what it is, and everybody just kind of follows. Nobody actually questions some of the stuff that is being taught out there. This is what we're so different. I actually question everything I see, and I say, well, does this really make sense? Can it be applied in real life situation? Have I ever applied it? Is it possible? If I haven't ever applied it, can we test it full out with bigger attackers? This is the difference between us and the rest out there in terms of self-defense. So let's start with the first one. So I'm going to get Vasil to come up here. The first misconception to me is a huge one, is training in sequence, which means everybody teaches come at slow motion with the knife. They go, okay, so this is what most videos look like, knife videos. So you're gonna attack me this way, Vasil, okay? Come really slow, go. So I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay? Now come at me again, Vasil. Right? Go. 1, 2. I could do this over and over. Now I could say, come really fast now. 1, 2, 3, and okay. This is never going to happen. If you're fighting, if you have any fighting system that has a sequence, that has a pattern, you will get killed in the street. Because I don't know how he's going to come. I don't know how his reaction is. So come at me just slow motion like this. I might come here, trap, and he might throw his punch right after, and I might come here. Now you see, if I do this and he throws his punch, he might try to grab the back of my neck. I might go 1 and I might go 1, but his friend is standing there. If his friend is standing there, am I still going to turn here? No, because I'd be going right into his friend. So what am I trying to teach you guys? You cannot go into a fight with a sequence. Boxers don't go in the ring and say, okay, I'm going to go in the first round, I'm going to jab, hook, uppercut, or MMA guys don't say, I'm going to go jab, cross, takedown, and then I'm going to go for an armbar and finish the fight. No, they train to fight, and whatever happens, happens. It's action and reaction. So I don't see why it would be any different in teaching self-defense, especially when you're faced against knife or gun or weapons or multiple attackers. It is too hard for me to calculate what's going to happen. Everything's a factor. My clothes are a factor. I might slip. I might fall. They might be two. I might be with my wife and my son, and his friend is moving around here. Am I still going to do this? No. If I trap, I might come here and try to book him here and move them back. So how would I have a pre-planned strategy in a fight? Blows my mind. Yet people train like this over and over, and to me, it's going to get you killed in the street. So that's number one. Number 2, I have a cell phone. Rock, I'm going to get you up here. All right? A lot of people say, oh yeah, I carry my cell phone. If something happens, I'm going to use it. Right? Now, hypothetically speaking, let's say I even have my phone in my hand. And Rock, I want you to rock me up for real. Go.
Hey,
go, what's going on, man? I'm going to call the cops, man. I'm going to call the cops.
What fucking cops?
Now, this is what it's really going to look like, guys. This, what you just saw, is real. You think you're going to sit here and say, 911, yeah, there's a really big guy in front of me. He's about to kick the shit out of me. Can you please come here? There's no way it's going to happen. By the time I do this, I'm going to get punched in the head. Even if I had it in my pocket, and even if he was far, by the time I pull it out, by the time I open it, I dial, it's not going to happen. Right? So this is another misconception. People say, well, I have my phone, I'll just call the cops and I'll be able to take care of it. What's the chance of a cop standing right next to you when you're going to be attacked? Slim to probably none. Awesome. Thanks, Rock. I'm safe, I carry a weapon. Okay? Rock, bring me a knife, please. Now, here's the thing with I'm safe, I carry a weapon. Come over here, Rock. The first thing you have to ask yourself when you carry a weapon, do I know how to use it? Am I ready to use it? Right? If I pull out a knife and I stab this big guy, I gotta prove, what the hell, why were you carrying a knife? You stabbed him, yeah, but I was defending myself. It's not self-defense when you're carrying a knife. You gotta explain to court in front of a judge, no matter how big he was or how much he threatened you, well, why were you carrying a knife? That means you were ready to use it, and it's not self-defense if I pull out a knife and stab him. Right? I got to prove that he was actually trying to attack me. Second of all, the chances of you pulling out a knife and using it against him him using it against you is sometimes far greater than you using it against them. And I've seen fights, and this is a real fight, where I saw a guy put a gun right to his head, and the guy looked and said, come on, shoot. He didn't have the balls to shoot. You know what happened? They took the guy just disarmed him, whacked him, and they beat the crap out of him. Okay, they beat the shit out of him. So the other question, am I ready to use it? Do I know how to use it? Are you ready to face the legal consequences? Am I ready to understand that I might get into a knife fight and pull it out, and you don't know who you're dealing with? That's the scary thing about being in a street fight. I don't know this guy. I remember fighting in the ring, didn't give a shit. I knew who I was fighting. I knew I was in a safe environment. Worse, I'm gonna get knocked out. And I remember working in the club and being faced sometimes with the littlest guy to the biggest guy and saying, who is this guy? What is his mindset? Where does he come from? What is his background? Is he a psychopath? Is he gonna come the next day? Does he know where I live? Is he gonna try to find me and hunt me down or try to kill me? This is some important shit you have to ask yourself before you pull out a knife and try to stab somebody. And again, the chance of him disarming the knife and using it against you sometimes could be far greater and more dangerous for you than it is for him. Okay? Just stay right here. The other misconception, okay? Go for the eyes, go for the throat, kick him in the balls. Everybody says, oh, if I'm not fighting, I'm gonna grab the guy in the eyes, I'm gonna hit him in the throat and kick him in the balls. I've been kicked in the nuts under adrenaline, right? Under adrenaline, you won't feel, yeah, if I just walk up to you and you're standing, and I go whack and kick you in the nuts, yeah, I'm probably gonna drop you. But in the middle of a fight, you don't know people's pain tolerance. This is why I hate saying there's no fight finishers. I hate saying go into the eyes and, because what happens is from the past when I used to teach, I say primary targets, eyes and throat, people would find they'd be doing stuff like this constantly to the eyes and throat. But if Rock's got a knife here, right, and I'm here and I'm doing this, and he's still stabbing. Right? I'm not finishing the fight because I need blows to finish the fight. I need to cause damage. I need to knock this big guy out. Going into the eyes will definitely make him go fetal, but it won't finish the fight. Again, punch it, the throat. The throat is a good target, but the guy's wearing a big jacket up to here, and I don't have access to his throat, and he's maybe wearing glasses. Well, there goes my vital targets. Holy shit, what do I do? So I hate putting any kind of fight finishers, any kind of, this is more lethal than that, and going into the eyes will finish the fight. I don't know people's pain tolerance. You can go into my eyes with your palms. You could be into my eyes, but I can still see what I'm doing, right? It's gonna make me go fetal, but if I had a knife, I could still stab away. So what am I just trying to tell you? There's no fight finisher. If you get this out of your mindset, that there's no fight finisher, well, if I go into his eyes and the guy's still fighting back, well, I'm not gonna panic and he'll say, holy shit, I'm in his eyes, I should have finished the fight. Which means it's not one strike that finishes the fight, it's a complete barrage of different strikes that are gonna finish the fight. Don't be stuck to one, don't put in your head, oh, this move will finish the fight. Whatever you need at that moment, that's what you have to use. Don't get attached to any of them. 5, size doesn't matter. This is great, when you're a kid and, you're doing Kung Fu, like when I was a kid, they, tell the size doesn't matter and hit hard and, it doesn't really matter, build your confidence. Guys, this is bullshit, right? Boxing, UFC, even some sports, they have weight divisions. It's not for nothing they do it, right? Rock overweighs me. He's literally double my size, like we calculate. He's twice my size. If I was to sit here and go, oh, it really doesn't matter, it doesn't, no. What are you, crazy? Of course it matters. It matters in terms of the strategy that I have to use against him. I know I'm a big guy. I gotta hit this guy first. There's no way I'm gonna let him swing first and build up momentum and then it's like trying to stop a truck when it's like at, going at full speed. You gotta get out of the way. He's too big. So I'm faced with a big guy like this. I gotta hit first. And again, look, there's other factors. Your mindset is probably the biggest factor in a fight. I would say second would probably be the size. Right? Big guy like this, for me to say that, there's certain stuff we have in all our videos, in most of them we have guys who are bigger than me. We also have some guys who are my size and some, a couple of guys who are smaller. There is some stuff I could pull off with guys who are shorter and bigger or like smaller, and there's stuff I couldn't pull off with Rock just as easy because it's just too big. He's just too big. There's no more strength. Look, I can't even put my arm, even both his hands when I try to trap. There's just so much power. So what does that mean? Well, it makes a difference. And for you to really know what it is, train with somebody that big and don't go in slow motion. Say, you know what? I want to feel what it is to be pushed and shoved and taken down by a huge big guy like this so you could actually feel the power behind Rock. Okay? MMA, let's get you up here. MMA is the most realistic self-defense training. This is probably a very common one I hear, right? A lot of people tell me, oh, you teach self-defense. Oh, so it's like mixed martial arts. That's what you teach. I said, no, it's a big difference. Well, that's, what would work in the street. No, because the biggest thing in the street is this, right? In MMA, they don't train with a knife, right? So I might have the greatest backspinning kick, the greatest strikes, but I'm not going to kickbox a guy with a knife. Right? This is a huge factor. You have multiple attackers. You have weapons. You have looking at your attacker, and I don't know this guy. I don't know where he's from. I don't know his mindset. I don't know if what he knows about me. I don't know where, maybe, I know one of the guys that I met in a club. He spent 5 years in prison. If you saw him, he looked normal. He was completely psycho. If you picked a fight with him, he wouldn't hesitate to kill you in a second because he was just completely crazy. But when you saw him, you wouldn't think that of him. But I knew who he was. And that's the dangerous thing of getting into a street fight. When you're looking at UFC and, getting in the ring, I know who I'm fighting. I'm training months to fight him. I'm in the top shape of my life. I have a coach in my corner. I have the ref. If I want to stop the fight, throw the towel. If I'm knocked out, well, there's an ambulance right there. I'm in a safe, controlled environment. And I've been in the ring hundreds of times. MMA, boxing, kickboxing. It doesn't scare me. Why? What's the worst that's going to happen? Really, what's the worst? I'm going to get knocked out, broken nose, busted ribs, big deal. But being in a street fight against the smallest, pukiest guy, if you want to call him, I was still like, holy shit, who is this guy? Does he have a weapon? Does he, and he could be the smallest guy. He could be like, look, man, please let me in the club, this and that. He could be just the smallest one, and he could be just as dangerous and even more dangerous than some of these big guys or some of these guys, because it's all these unorthodox, wild fighters that fear me more than all these technical fighters. And again, most fights in the UFC end up where? MMA, on the ground. Right? But I could go on the ground. If you're going one-on-one and I go on the ground and I know nobody's going to jump in, yeah, it's not bad. But in the street, do you have a guarantee that nobody's going to jump in when you hit the ground? No, you have no guarantees. The instant you hit the ground, I don't know, his buddy could be coming any point. One stomp in the head and lights out. Okay? 7, 90% of the fights end up on the ground. This is a misconception that they teach. It's not 90%. There's a lot. They don't end up all on the ground. It's your goal is to keep the fight standing up. To say that 90% go on the ground, I've seen tons of fights that don't end up to the ground. I've seen a lot of fights that just finish with sucker punch. Yeah, he ends up to the ground, but not the person who's throwing the strike. But if I'm in a fight and Gio takes me down, Gio tries to take me down. Let's say as he's taking me down, what do I want to do? I want to make sure that if I go down, I'm taking Gio with me. What I don't want to do in a fight is I hit the ground and he's standing. Then I'm screwed. Okay? 8, and this is one I really like. Military systems used for civilian self-defense. We all hear it and we see, military training, and they use all these big fancy names. First thing I have to say, the rules of engagement are completely different, right? The guy in the army, right? Gio, go get me the gun, please. The guy in the gun in the street, and the guy in the military, right? If I'm faced with the guy, like when you look at, let's say, civilian, what do they teach? Put the gun to my head, right? In the military, they're teaching like, you go 1, 2, 3, and they take the gun and then you point it at him. Now, the person who's gonna, learn how to defend against a gun might be put in 1 or 2 situations, even if in his life. First of all, the rules of engagement are completely different. You're not gonna invade a country and say, don't move, man, or else I'll shoot you, right? You move, he shoots. It's simple as that. But in a street fight, the guy's got a gun to my head. Well, before I get to this, I start talking. Look, man, what do you want? You want money? Here. I'll give him the money. I'll comply. I'll try to defuse. Before I do anything physical, I'll use my awareness, I'll use my verbal skills to get out of it, right? I have that option, right? So this is why it's so important to understand the difference is that, and the rules of engagement, again, are different. If, let's say, I disarm him, I have the gun, right? Like, if I have the gun and am I ready to shoot? Am I ready to take this person's life, right? If I do, I'm responsible, I had the gun. So I don't know how people take military systems, turn them into civilians. The rules of engagement are different. The mindset is different. The strategies and the fighting is different. There's different variables that you're going to get in the street that you're not going to get in military training. And it's kind of, they try to cross them, but to me, it just doesn't make sense. It looks cool, it sounds cool, but I don't find that it's applied in a real life situation. And the biggest thing is verbal. You're verbal. If I got a gun to my head, before I pull the move, I'm going to talk to the guy. Look, man, what do you want? Let me get out of this, through verbal. Like I said, you're not going to invade the country and say, hey, if you move, I'll shoot you. I'm sure we can talk about it. No, you move, he shoots. It's simple as that. So you have different options that you have in the street that you should use that are going to get you much further than going straight into physical. I live in a safe neighborhood. This is probably the most common one. I live in the safe neighborhood. I take the car. I don't take the bus. I don't take the metro. I do my route. This is probably the most common thing I hear. I don't need self-defense. I live in a gated community. The first thing I tell people, it is the only person who is the best to protect your life is you. Do not handle that responsibility to the police officers, to the security guard, anybody else. Because they're not going to be there if you get attacked in your house. They're not going to be there when you get attacked in your shower. They're not going to be there if you get attacked, right in your car. So it's your responsibility to protect your own life and to learn it and to do it as best as possible. Because I can tell you one thing, nobody will be there and nobody will defend your life as good as you are. So this is really, really crucial for you to understand this and to take control of your life and not hand that out and that responsibility to somebody else. Because that's a very common thing I say. I always tell people, I can tell you, and I've seen fights where people have been attacked, and you know what people do? They turn the other way and they walk away because nobody wants to get involved. Right? The most you might get is somebody walks away and call the cops, or from time to time I've seen where a good Samaritan might come in and break a fight, break it up. But again, when you see violent attacks, most people with knives, what does the other guy do? He runs the other side because nobody wants to risk their life, nobody wants to get killed, and the most they'll do is go and call the cops or do something like that. 10, pulling hair is for sissies. This is a very common one. People say, well, in a street fight, I'd never pull a hair and I'd never scratch into the eyes or kick the guy in the balls. These are all cheap shots. Guys, it's a street fight. I couldn't care and give a rat's ass what you do to finish the fight, right? You're not fighting for pride. You want to fight for pride and you want a belt, go do some MMA, join a competition, get a trophy, stick it in your wall, be proud of it, okay? But that's not a real street fight. In a real street fight, and I can tell you, from my own experience, I couldn't care a rat's ass what I'm going to do. If that means I have a weapon and I'm talking to the guy and I think he's going to actually go violent and I'm faced, Rock, come up here. Rock, come up here. So if I'm faced with somebody like Rock and he's right here, right, the last thing I want to do is, I'm not going to sit there. If I'm faced with Rock and I got a weapon, I'm not going to take the chance of him going crazy. If I got a weapon, I'm trying to defuse a situation. He's right in my face. If I have a weapon, I got something. If I have my keys in mine, I'll throw the keys. If I'm holding, my bag, I'll whack him with the bag. I'll hit him with something. I couldn't care less because he's just so big. You think I'm going to take the chance of him squaring off or him throwing his first shot? Hell no. I'm going to do whatever it takes to survive. And that's what a street fight is. You do whatever you got to do to finish the fight fast and quick. So, thanks, Rod. So those are the 10 top misconceptions that we want to kind of break, and you understand that you can use. And forget about what people teach out there, and forget about what some of the stuff, what we're trying to teach you is, some of the stuff, it's been taught years ago and everybody just follows it. Nobody questions it. This is the difference between us. We question everything. And we want to make sure that we're teaching you guys the best self-defense. No BS, no bullshit. Just take out all the stuff and go straight to what works the best. Thank you.